जी सर.
Good morning to all of you. Today I will discuss fund flow statement. And in fund flow statement, I will discuss first about the fund, thereafter flow of fund, thereafter funds from operation, and after that, if the time permits, then I will discuss schedule of changes in working capital. And in the next class, I will discuss fund flow statement. Okay, so what is fund? First of all, we have to the idea what is fund. Fund means, if you are the sports manager of any college, and if the student says that I would like to play cricket, you may say that I do not have fund. Fund means I do not have money, I do not have cash in sports committee. Is that clear? Simple. The factor flashed in your mind that I do not have cash in the sports committee. This is the narrow sense of defining fund. So fund means, in narrow sense, we can define fund in narrow sense and broad sense. When we define fund in narrow sense, then fund is nothing, fund is cash only. Whatever the cash is inside the pocket, which I can invest anytime, which I can pay anytime, any moment. If I want to buy a cup of milk, I can pay. That is cash. Okay, then how we define fund in another way? In a broader way. The sense to define fund have a broader area. And when we define fund in a broader way, then we cannot consider cash only. Then we can consider that assets also, which is very near to cash. Like, suppose we are doing business. Why we do business? To sell. And we sell goods in two ways, in cash and credit. Cash is the amount which we'll get immediately after sale. But credit means the payment is postponed for a certain period of time, which we'll get after a certain period of time. This is also fund. This is very near to cash, because the credit period allowed to the debtors is suppose 15 days or 1 month. So after 1 month, we will collect cash. Is that clear? The same way, if we purchase some raw materials on credit basis, it means the payment is postponed. We are not paying right now. We will pay after a certain period of time, because I am enjoying the credit facilities. So all these factors, debtors, receivables, creditors, payable, not only this, fixed assets also. Because maybe after 2 months we want to sell some of our assets, which is in depleted condition, which is suppose obsolete in nature. Or maybe the assets which is now of no use, which we want to sell. It means after a certain period of time, the fixed assets which we want to sell will get cash. It means, in a broader sense, when we define fund, then we will not only consider cash. We will consider cash and the other assets, which is very near to cash. It means what? Whatever the economic resources you have, that all comes within the ambit of fund. So, if we define fund in narrow sense, that is cash only, and if we define fund in a broader sense, then cash and near cash assets, that is whatever the economic resources you have. हमारे पास फंड को डिफाइन करने के लिए 2 तरीके हैं. एक संकीर्ण दायरे से सोचे, एक दायरे को बढ़ाएं सोचने का. जब संकीर्ण दायरे में सोचेंगे तो फंड को केवल कैश मानेंगे. जब सोचने के दायरे को बढ़ा देंगे तो कहेंगे केवल कैश नहीं है, वो सभी एसेट्स हैं जो कुछ समयों के बाद कैश में कन्वर्ट होने वाला है. हमने जब उधार बेचा तो जिसको उधार बेचा वो कुछ समयों के बाद वो मुझे कैश पे कर देगा. हमने जिनसे उधार खरीदा कुछ समय के बाद मुझे उनको कैश पेमेंट करना हो। मेरे पास जो कुछ फिक्स एसेट्स हैं जो कैश में कन्वर्ट होने वाले हैं, क्योंकि वो अब काम के लायक नहीं है, उनको मैं बेच दूंगा। वो जो टेक्नोलॉजी के चेंज होने के कारण उस एसेट्स को, उस मशीन को हम यूटिलाइज नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, वो ऑब्सोलीट इन नेचर है, उसको मैं बेच दूंगा, उससे कैश आएगा। इसका मतलब हमारे पास जितने भी आर्थिक स्रोत हैं जहां से मुझे कैश आ सकता है, उन सबों को हम फंड के दायरे में रखेंगे। अब मुझे यह पता करना है जो फंड फ्लो स्टेटमेंट एक्चुअली बनाते क्यों है। Why we prepare this fund flow statement? Because there are two income statements we prepared. Position statement we prepared. Income statement we prepared to know the income, to know the profit. And position statement we prepared to know the shareholders fund, or to know how much assets and liabilities we have. But from where we get the fund and where we have applied the fund, this such information we will never get either from PL account or profit and loss account or balance sheet. That is position statement. So for this reason, to know that from where we will get the cash, or from where we will get the fund, or where fund will be applied, that sort of information we will get only if we prepare fund flow and cash flow statement. And for this reason, the fund flow statement will prepare to know the changes in cash position. Sorry, to changes in working capital. And working capital, you know, that is known as current assets minus current liabilities. It means if there is change in working capital, it means I can say there is flow of fund. If there is no change in working capital, I can say there is no flow of fund. Now, how the fund flows? And how you prepare this fund flow statement? We will prepare this fund flow statement with the help of 2 years balance sheet. With the help of 1 year's balance sheet, you cannot prepare fund flow statement. You can prepare this fund flow statement with the help of 2 years balance sheet. 2 साल के बैलेंस शीट को जब हम यूटिलाइज करेंगे, तभी हम फंड फ्लो स्टेटमेंट प्रिपेयर कर सकते हैं। ठीक है? तो फ्लो ऑफ फंड कब होगा? देखिए, इसके लिए हमने वी हैव प्रिपेयर्ड 4 eggs. In one egg there is long-term fund. This is your balance sheet. Another one is fixed assets, current assets, and current liabilities. And I would like to show you how the fund is flowing. And fund is flowing only when there is change in working capital. So, if there is change in working capital, then only fund will flow. And working capital means current assets and current liabilities. It means if there is transaction between fixed assets and fixed long-term fund, that will not put any effect on working capital, because working capital is current asset minus current liabilities. So, it means what? There are horizontal transaction, vertical transaction, and diagonal transaction. Now, let us see. First of all, we'll discuss horizontal transaction. That is long-term fund to fixed assets to long-term fund. If there is transaction between long-term fund to fixed assets, then what happened? There is no change in working capital. Why? Because neither the long-term fund nor the fixed assets will put any effect on current assets or current liabilities. Why? Because there is transaction is between long-term fund and fixed assets, or fixed assets to long-term fund. Simple. जब लॉन्ग टर्म फंड और फिक्स एसेट्स के बीच ट्रांजैक्शन लेन देन होगा, तो उसका करंट एसेट्स और करंट लायबिलिटीज या वर्किंग कैपिटल पर कोई असर नहीं होगा, क्योंकि उससे करंट एसेट्स और करंट लायबिलिटीज प्रभावित नहीं होता है। मतलब ये तय हो गया, अगर हॉरिजॉन्टल ट्रांजैक्शन होगा तो वर्किंग कैपिटल पर कोई प्रभाव नहीं पड़ेगा। अब देखो, तो बोलोगे, देन यू कैन से सर, if the current asset, the transaction is between current asset and current liabilities, or current liabilities to current asset, then what happens? Again, there will be no change in working capital. Why? Because you just see one example. If suppose the current assets in 2019 is 10 rupees, okay, and 2020 is 5 rupees, means current stock is decreasing, means current asset is decreasing. Now you see, in 2019 creditors is 20 and 2020 is 30, bills receivable is 15 and 10. Current stock is decreasing. Stock is decreasing means what? Stock is decreasing means cash is coming inside the business. Okay? Stock is decreasing means we may sell the stock and we'll get the cash. This is one reason, because transaction is between current assets to current asset, because stock is decreasing, cash is increasing. Maybe if the cash is increasing because of what? Maybe I took borrowed from money from my friends. Who is my creditors? So cash is increasing from 10 to 20. So here creditors is increasing from 20 to 30. Is that clear? So here is what? Suppose current assets in 2019 is 10 and current liabilities in 2019 is suppose this is 20. Suppose 30 and current liabilities is 15. Suppose the working capital is how much? Working capital is 15. And 2020, suppose this is 35 and suppose this is 20. This is 50. Because current asset is increasing, cash is increasing, because current liabilities is also creditors is also increasing by 5 rupees. Here 5 rupees is increasing, here also 5 rupees is increasing. So here is what? There is no change in working capital. Working capital remains same. And because there is no change in working capital, so there is no flow of fund. But in another way, now if you see, current assets is suppose 10. Okay? And here is 20. Suppose we take only this one. Current assets is 10 and 2020 is 20. Current liabilities is 15, or suppose this is not 10, this is 20, 30, and this is 5, 50. This is 5. So this is 5. 20 to 30, 5 to 15. Or this is 5, or this is suppose 20 to 30, 20 to 30. So here is what? 20 is your cash is 20, here is creditors is 20. So here is cash is 20, creditor is 20. So working capital is nil. Okay? Now it's increasing, cash is increasing from 20 to 30. Then what happened? Creditors is also increasing 20 to 30. So what happened? Here is 30, here is 30, here is nil. So what happened? There is no change in working capital. Working capital remains same. No change. Is that clear? Here cash is increasing, creditors is also increasing. Here current assets is suppose 20, here current liabilities is 20. 20 minus 20 is nil. Here is 30, here is 30, working capital is nil. So there is no change in working capital. It means if there is the conclusion is, if there is horizontal transaction, either from fixed assets to long-term fund or long-term fund to fixed assets, or current asset to current liabilities or current liabilities to current assets, there is no flow of fund. There is no change in working capital. Okay? Now you see. Now if I say vertical transaction, fixed assets to current asset or current asset to fixed assets. Suppose fixed assets to current asset. Our cash is increasing 20 to 30. Cash is increasing. Why? Maybe we sold goods, plant from 20 to 10. 20 rupees of plant in 2019. In 2020, the plant decreases to 10. 10 rupees of plant we have sold, and that is the reason here the cash comes in. So what happened? If suppose current asset is 20 in 19 and 2020 is 30, and your current liabilities is here is 20 and here is 5, because there is no change in current liabilities. Here is nil, here is 25, here just you see. Because here transaction is between fixed assets to current asset, but the current liabilities remain same. Here current liabilities is 20, here current liabilities is suppose 5. Okay, here is 20 and here is 30. Yeah, here is 15. So here is 15. So 20 and 15. Suppose. So if suppose current asset is 20, here current assets increases. This increase, 10 rupees increase because of selling of fixed assets. Selling of fixed assets. But current liabilities remain same. There is no impact on current liabilities. And because of that, there is change in working capital from nil to 50. It means if there is vertical transactions, there is change in working capital. Either fixed asset to current asset, or current asset to fixed asset, or current liabilities to long-term fund, or long-term fund to current liabilities. Or diagonal. Long-term fund to current assets, or current assets to long-term fund, or current liabilities to fixed assets, or fixed assets to current liabilities. Again there is change. Why? Because the transaction is in between this. It means there is no impact there is no change in data in current liabilities. Because you have issued the equity share by 10 rupees, and when we issue the equity share by 10, our cash will increase. Here the cash will increase, here the current liability remains same, then there is change in working capital. It means the conclusion is, if the transaction is horizontal, there is no change. If there is vertical transaction or diagonal transaction, there is change in working capital. There is flow of fund. Okay, now come to funds from operation. Funds from operation is also known as adjusted profit and loss account. Why? Because funds, we want to know the funds which comes from operation only. There are also funds which is non-operating. That is income and gain, which is non-operating, expenses and losses, which is non-operating. And the profit and loss account which we prepare, in that profit and loss account, we are considering operating as well as non-operating both. So the net profit which comes, which we calculate from P&L account, is not the real funds from operations. So what? So there is need of some adjustment. What sort of adjustment? Adjustment related to by which your net profit is increasing, that you have to deduct. Those items, because of which, those items means which item? Non-operating income and gain. Because of this non-operating income and gain, our net profit is increasing. And because of non-operating expenses and losses, our net profit is decreasing. Suppose there is no rent received, which has no relation with operation. There is no profit on sale of shares, which is non-operating gain. If suppose there is no 200, 200, 400, then the total is 600. And if this is 600, then this net profit cannot be 300. This will be minus, negative, not net loss. So because of this 400, this is 100. And because of this 400, this net profit is 300. Because of this net profit, our net profit is increasing. Suppose non-operating expenses, non-cash charges, depreciation, salary, obviously this is non-operating. This is operating expenses. Rent, this is operating expenses. But what about depreciation? Depreciation is non-cash charges. We are not paying to anyone. We are paying repairs for the plant and machinery. But we are not paying anyone depreciation on plant and machinery. Because we are using this plant and machinery, so there is need to calculate the book value of the assets by deducting depreciation, annual depreciation. And because we are deducting annual depreciation from the book value of the assets, there is need to consider this depreciation as an expenses and put it under debit side of profit and loss account. And because of that, our net profit is decreasing. Again, amortization of fictitious assets, intangible assets like goodwill. That is also non-operating. And if the amount of goodwill is suppose 1,000 to 800, amortization means decreasing. And because of 1,000 to 800, there is 200 decrease in working goodwill, amortization of fictitious assets, our net profit is decreasing. Because this 200 we will consider under debit side of profit and loss account. Again, there is loss on sale of, that is non-operating loss. Loss due to theft, loss due to fire, loss due to flood, loss due to earthquake, that is natural calamities. And because this all we are considering under profit and loss account under the debit side, and that is the reason why by that amount our net profit is decreasing. So what? There is need to re-add back, because of which our net profit is decreasing. There is need to deduct, due to which our net profit is increasing. जिसके कारण हमारा नेट प्रॉफिट बढ़ रहा है उसको डिडक्ट कर देना है, जिसके कारण नेट प्रॉफिट घट रहा है उसको हमको ऐड कर देना है, और तब जो अमाउंट मिलेगा वो हमारा फंड फ्रॉम ऑपरेशन मिलेगा. वेरी इजी. सो यहां देखो, हियर नेट प्रॉफिट इज 300. First of all, we consider net profit is 300. After that, we have to re-add back which item? That is non-cash charges, depreciation. Depreciation we will add here. Why? Because of this our net profit is decreasing, so there is need to re-add back. Again, amortization of fictitious assets, that is goodwill written off. Goodwill written off, we have to re-add back. Again, expenses on issue of shares, we should re-add back. Again, loss on sale of fixed assets, we have to re-add back. Again, natural calamities, we have to re-add back. So all these 400 we should re-add back, and thereafter the 300 plus 500, 800. Now we have to see that is there any other items by which our net profit is increasing? Yes. What is that? Non-operating income and gain. Is there any non-operating income and gain? Yes. What is that? Rent received. Because we are receiving rent and we are producing car, so this rent has no relation with operation. This is from outside we are getting income. This is non-operating income. So this non-operating income, rent received, we will deduct, because by this our net profit is increasing, so we should deduct. And thereafter again, profit on sale of shares. This is also non-operating gain, and because of this our net profit is increasing, so we will deduct. So 400 will deduct. So from 800, 400 will deduct, and we will get 400, and this is your real funds from operation. So our net profit which we'll calculate from fund PL account is 300, but the real funds from operation is 400. Is that clear? No problem? हम लोगों ने क्या किया, जिसके कारण हमारा नेट प्रॉफिट घट रहा है. किसके कारण? जिसका ऑपरेशन से कोई मतलब नहीं है, नॉन ऑपरेटिंग खर्चा, एक्सपेंसेस, लॉसेस, हानि, जिसको हमने पीएल अकाउंट के डेबिट साइड में डाला था. तो क्या सब डाला था भाई? हमने पीएल अकाउंट के डेबिट साइड में डाला है शेयर, सैलरी, सैलरी तो ऑपरेटिंग एक्सपेंसेस है जो आप मैनेजर को देते हैं, रेंट जो हमको हमारा फैक्ट्री का रेंट है जिसको आप देते हैं, ये तो ऑपरेटिंग एक्सपेंसेस है, इसलिए इसको नहीं हम जोड़ेंगे। जोड़ेंगे क्या? जिसका ऑपरेशन से कोई ताल्लुकात नहीं है। क्या है भाई? डिप्रिसिएशन है क्या? हाँ है। ये क्या है? नॉन कैश चार्जेस जो हम किसी को पे ही नहीं करते हैं और उसके कारण हमारा नेट प्रॉफिट घट रहा है, इसको हम ऐड कर दिया। फिर क्या किया हम? तो इसके बाद ऐसा भी है जिसका जो फिक्टिशियस एसेट है, इनटैंजिबल एसेट है, जिसको हम देख नहीं सकते हैं, गुडविल। जनरल रिजर्व, तो ये गुडविल अगर घट जाएगा तो वो घटेगा जितना अमाउंट से, उसको हम यहां डेबिट साइड में डाल देंगे और उसके कारण हमारा नेट प्रॉफिट घट जाएगा, इसीलिए इसको हमको रीऐड करना पड़ेगा। तो गुडविल को हमने रीऐड कर दिया। फिर एक्सपेंसेस ऑन इश्यू ऑफ शेयर्स, शेयर्स जो हम इश्यू करते हैं उसमें हमको खर्चा लगता है, तो उस खर्चे को क्या करेंगे? डेबिट साइड में डालेंगे, जिसका ऑपरेशन से कोई ताल्लुकात नहीं है, इसलिए उसको भी हमको रीऐड करना पड़ेगा। इसके बाद क्या करेंगे? हमारा फिक्स एसेट्स है जो मान लो 10 में है और हम 2 में बेच रहे हैं, तो 8 रुपए का घाटा हो गया, उसको हम डेबिट साइड में डालेंगे, उसके कारण नेट प्रॉफिट घट गया, तो उसको हमको रीऐड करना पड़ेगा। तो इस तरह हमको क्या करना पड़ेगा? नॉन कैश चार्जेस, amortization of fictitious assets, non-operating expenses and losses, discount on issues of shares and debentures, ये सब जो डेबिट साइड में डालेगा उसको हमको रीऐड करना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि हम फंड फ्रॉम ऑपरेशन कैलकुलेट करना चाहते हैं। इसी तरह हमको और कुछ घटाना भी है जिसके कारण हमारा नेट प्रॉफिट बढ़ रहा है। वो बढ़ रहा है किसके कारण? नॉन ऑपरेटिंग इनकम ऑन गेन के कारण। और ये नॉन ऑपरेटिंग इनकम गेन जैसे हमने रेंट बाहर लगा दिया, जिसका ऑपरेशन, और हम कार प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं, हम तेल प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं, तो नूरानी तेल प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं, तो उसका रेंट से क्या मतलब है? हमने बाउंड्री वॉल के चारों तरफ हमने रूम बना दिया, रेंट पर लगा दिया है, वो हमारा एडिशनल इनकम है जिसको हम नॉन ऑपरेटिंग इनकम कहेंगे, और उसके कारण मेरा नेट प्रॉफिट बढ़ गया है, तो उसको घटा दीजिए। हमको सेल, हमने अपने शेयर फिक्स एसेट्स को ज्यादा में बेच दिया, दाम था 1000 बेच दिया 2000, लाभ हो गया, तो प्रॉफिट ऑन सेल ऑफ फिक्स एसेट्स। लॉस ऑन सेल चला जाएगा एक्सपेंसेस साइड, तो उसको ऐड कर देंगे, लेकिन प्रॉफिट के कारण मेरा नेट प्रॉफिट बढ़ गया, हमको घटा देना होगा। शेयर हमने खरीदा था 10 रुपए में, बेच दिया 12 रुपए में, तो 2 रुपए का प्रॉफिट हुआ, उसके कारण नेट प्रॉफिट बढ़ गया, तो नेट प्रॉफिट बढ़ गया, इसीलिए उसको हमको घटा देना है। क्यों भाई? क्योंकि हमको फंड्स फ्रॉम केवल ऑपरेशन कैलकुलेट करना है, और इस तरह हमने कैलकुलेट कर दिया 400। इज दैट क्लियर? कोई दिक्कत नहीं? चलिए, तो अब हम इसके बाद हम थोड़ा शेड्यूल बता देते हैं। शेड्यूल ऑफ चेंजेस इन वर्किंग कैपिटल बहुत आसान है। ये 2019, this is 2020, this is changes in working capital. This is positive, this is negative. We want to calculate changes in working capital. In this schedule, we want to know how the working capital changing. And we will know that in this schedule, we will consider current assets and current liabilities. And we will find that how the individual current assets puts effect on working capital. And after that, we'll calculate the overall, is there any change in working capital or not. If there is increase in working capital from one year to another year, it means increase in working capital, it means there is flow. If decrease, again there is flow. If there is no change, there is no flow of fund. Is that clear? Now you see. First of all, we will consider current assets. And in current assets, we take into consideration stock. Suppose stock is 10 rupees and this is 15 rupees. Now you see, one item of current asset, stock. If the stock is increasing, then what sort of effect you will find on working capital? If the current assets is increasing, working capital also increases. If the current assets decreasing, working capital also decrease. Other variables remain same. Only the current assets is increasing. Current liabilities remain same. Current liabilities remain same, only current assets if increases, working capital obviously increase. Current assets decreases, working capital obviously decrease. So here, current assets is increasing, stock is increasing, working capital will increase by how much? 10 to 15, that's 5 rupees. Now you see, debtors. Debtors is suppose 15 to 10. Now forget about stock. Now consider debtors. Debtors is decreasing from 15 to 10. Debtors is also one of the current assets. And if the debtors will decrease, tell me the impact on working capital. Decrease or increase? Because debtor is increasing, it means current assets is current stock is decreasing, debtors is decreasing means current assets is decreasing. And if the current assets will decrease, then working capital also decrease. So here we'll put 5 rupees, that is decreasing working capital. Okay, now you can take cash 10 and 10. Cash is 10 in 2019 and 20 also 10. 2020 is also 10. Now which type of impact you will find on working capital? Because cash remains same, current assets remain same, current liabilities also, because it's not changing. So what do you think? Working capital will not change. There is no change in working capital. It means whatever the current assets are there in your balance sheet, and if that current assets decreasing, working capital decreases, increasing, working capital will increase. This is your conclusion. Now, in this way we'll calculate the total current assets. 35. Now current liabilities. Current liabilities, creditors 5, 10. Current liabilities is increasing from 5 to 10. Now forget about current assets. Now current liabilities is changing. Now if the current liabilities is changing, increasing, here is inverse relationship. If the current liability is increasing, working capital will decrease. If the current liability is decreasing, working capital will increase. अगर करंट लायबिलिटीज इंक्रीज कर जाए, बढ़ जाएगा, तो वर्किंग कैपिटल डिक्रीज कर जाएगा, उल्टा. और करंट लायबिलिटीज अगर डिक्रीज करेगा तो वर्किंग कैपिटल बढ़ जाएगा. तो what happens here? Because current liabilities is increasing, working capital will decrease by 5. Now, bills payable. Suppose 5 to 3. Bills payable is decreasing. Bills payable is decreasing means current liabilities is decreasing. And because current liabilities is decreasing, so working capital will increase by 2 rupees. So now, this is your total current liabilities. 10, 13. Now, you have the data of current assets and you have the data of current liabilities, so you can calculate working capital. 35 minus 10, 25. 35 minus 13, 22. So what sort of changes you find. Working capital in 2019 is 25 and working capital is 2020 is 22 after deduction.